Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advancement Center and welcome to the world of magic and miracles. Once again, I've moved to where I'm having a remote broadcast. Surprised my mom, sort of, not really, and came to Pleasant Hill to spend a few days with my mom over these holidays. It's that time of the year where people get to spend time with family. Many celebrate different occasions. Some celebrate Christmas, some Hanukkah, some Kwanzaa, many different traditions. But whatever that tradition is, it usually involves gathering with family and friends. A lot of that has to do with people get to have time off work, which is the best thing ever. And over those times, many traditions have been established in the many different families, be it decorating a tree, getting a tree, hanging a wreath in the Christmas tradition, having a special meal on Christmas Day. Some people do things on Christmas Eve. And of course, with Hanukkah, with the candle, the candles, the 8 days, and other traditions. But primarily, it's an opportunity to gather with family and friends. And that's really what makes it special, because family is important. And we've come into this human form through the birth of our mother. And we're connected through our parents and our siblings forever. We chose to come here. We chose these parents. And we end up walking like them, talking like them, not by trying to imitate, but because it's in our body. Even if we were born by a parent and given up for adoption and raised by other parents, someone who knows your birth parents might say, wow, you walk just like your mom or just like your dad. The way you tilt your head, the way you lift one shoulder. So these family members are part of our lives. And whenever there's difficulty, it has an effect on our ability to move forward to where we're destined to be or to do what we're destined to do. If you're watching this broadcast, you are one of the ones who was able to reconcile all the things that occur within a family. You were able to see from behind just the physical plane and use your gifts and your magic to create an environment where things can dissolve. It's really important that you take that role. And it's very easy to pull back and find a safe place away from what seems to be challenging. But you may be the only one that is able to do that, that is able to bring harmony in your family at this moment. So while you're together, maintain that feeling of harmony. Have an awareness of the fact that you have family and that they're not from here, just like you, even though it may seem as though they are. They just haven't found out yet. And so you have the ability to see from a higher perspective and to allow those that can't see from that perspective the space they need or the kindness they need or the love that they need to be able to see themselves in a different light. Most of what we encounter in each other that's challenging is connected to fear. And there's a lot of fear on the planet now, but there always has been. And those that control the information make it their business to keep people in that place. So those that can be impacted by that need compassion. Because when you're in fear, the only thing you can do is lash out to protect yourself and to survive. So to produce space and compassion is the greatest thing you can do. I realized that the greatest gift I could have given my mother was to become a father. There's no substitute for having that experience as a parent. Most of us think our parents don't know what they're doing when we were kids. We had a lot of issues with them, and we didn't realize that they were people, just like we are, just like we were. They were cool. They were hip. They were fly. They could dance. They could sing. They dressed cool. And then we came along and they put a lot of that on the back burner to look after us because they chose to. It's a great sacrifice. I think I heard a comedian once say to his, in a joke with his kids, I used to be cool before you guys came. And so having my daughter say to me after having two kids, wow, daddy, I get it. I get what you did for me. Thank you. This is hard. And I remember as a parent, you can't do it right. You know, there's no right or wrong anyway, but I remember Valerie asking me, can I go to the movie? I was like, no, can't go to that movie. And because I didn't think it was good for her. Looking back, it wouldn't have mattered, but I had to follow my own signal, even though it might have been from an overreaction. And now she finds herself saying to me, Daddy, I'm saying no to them all the time. And I'm like, yeah, they'll be fine. Look at you. You're amazing. But she could maybe not be able to say those things to me if she hadn't become a parent. She might just think, yeah, you said no to me all the time. And, you never let me do what I wanted to do. And, you know, all kinds of stories. And I was able to say to my mom, thank you. It's not easy. And it's the gift. It's a gift that we're given. And everyone doesn't choose to be a parent. And that's perfect. But if you become one, you will see the world in a completely different way. And you will see your parents in a completely different way. So I feel like we're getting close to 2022. And I believe that will be the year that the new world will show itself more clearly as we've been opening the door and the windows all through this year. And even though what we see will be chaotic or challenging on the outside, the new world and the new world of magic and miracles and the industry of magic and miracles will flourish and will pop out in front of everyone from nowhere. So this day, I'm speaking about reconciliation that exists in the new world, reconciliation between mother and daughter, father and son, father and daughter, mother and son, brothers, sisters, all your human family. In the new world, you have no memory. And most of the conflict that we encounter in our families is because of memory. Something that may have happened years ago, still carried along. Those things will be no more. And we will reconcile with everyone because we will release everything and we'll be left with gratitude, no matter how difficult it was or it seemed. You will be filled with gratitude because you will have surpassed the physical part of being human. I realize that as we step into the new world, and all of us do on a daily basis, there is no thought of yourself, and there's no really thought of others. It's just an expanded place where everything's available and you are not attached to anything. It could happen in over a 5-second period, or you could be in a conversation with someone for an hour and be gone and be there. And the only thing that brings you back is something physical, a sound, the phone ringing, doorbell, any sound can bring you back. And I realized that that's the only place that we have what would appear to be trouble. It's generally connected to us physically. That's the only thing that takes us out of the new world. Obviously, if I have to go to the bathroom, that's physical. And that signal will come, and then I'll step into that world. Any pain in your body sends you to that, the world of your body. Any need for food, for water, all those things take you into what I would call the old world. But they're necessary as you live in this body, and it requires things. But most of the things that we speak about of coming in the new world, this sense of something grand for ourselves, when I'm there, I have no sense of something grand for myself or for anyone else. I'm in the grandness of it all. There's no thought of me or you because we're all there, and there's no need and no lack. So something's coming where the interface between the physical and that place that we all experience as the new world will become less extreme. We'll slide into that physical sensation of having to eat while we stay in the new world. We won't have to leave as often and as for long durations as we do now. This to me has always been the conundrum of the magic and the beauty and the magnificence of those 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours of being at the right hand of your creator. And then the time where you're called back. I always hear those stories of near death experiences of people being asked, would you like to go back? And nobody seems all that thrilled to go back, but they know they have things to do here. And so they willingly come back. So that interface in the new world will allow more freedom of movement without feeling like you've left the new world. I think of now how to live in the new world is similar to a salmon swimming upstream. Everything coming towards you, and the salmon is going the other way, yet they're able to do it. Or the sea turtles that I've seen born on the beach in Florida, hundreds of them. They ask us to turn the lights off on our apartments so they won't come to the light because they have to find the water. And they're making their way, tiny, tiny little sea turtles, to the ocean where something is waiting to eat them. And out of those hundreds, maybe 2 will make it. Yet they keep going because it's inside them. It's their destiny. It's coded into their being to swim upstream, to find their way to the ocean, even knowing that they may not make it 100 feet. And the one who makes it, the sea turtle, years and years later, swims back to the same beach and hatches 100 more eggs. So we're here because we were destined to be here, And what's in us is the code to the new world. And we're delivering it every single day, whether we know it or not, as we swim upstream against the wave of humanity that hasn't yet remembered that they're going in the wrong direction. Even as in their heart, they can feel it. They can feel the new world without giving it a name. They can feel that there's more. They can feel that there's something else beyond this physical world, this life. And yet they keep moving until they decide to turn around. And until they decide to turn around, we only love them as we have been loved until we decided to turn around. Leave it to magic and miracles. You know that feeling that you get when you look into the eyes of a young child? That's your home. And that's the new world. Leave everything that you experience in the old world to magic and miracles. You know that feeling that you get when you can't stop laughing and you are free from all thoughts? That's your home. And that's the new world. Leave everything that you experience in the old world to magic and miracles. You know that feeling that you get when you sit in the stillness with your eyes wide open and you travel to other places, dimensions, and worlds? That's your home. And that's the new world. Leave everything that you experience in the old world to magic and miracles. It's that feeling of expandedness, the feeling of unlimitedness, and the feeling of overwhelming joy. This is your home, and this is the new world. Just leave everything that you experience in the old world to magic and miracles. It appears that you spend most of your time in this physical dimension where life seems so challenging. But in reality, you are everywhere, and you can choose the place you wish to be by simply focusing on it. Whichever place you choose to be, that place will have its own parameters of operating, and most will give you a feeling of the expandedness of you and everything in creation. Here in this world, there's a great demand on your existence. There is more of a feeling of limitation and lack of containment, a constant pressure to survive. But even in this place, we can all of a sudden look up and see a beautiful bird flying, which gives us the feeling of being above the containment. And just like that, we are gone. This is magic. And the miracle that follows is the awareness of a different reality that has no problems and is full of care and love for you. It is sent from nowhere and somewhere, from another aspect of you, the many beings that support you, or your creator. Know that you are never alone and you are always looked after every second of every day for all eternity and beyond. So, you know that feeling you get when you are worried, in fear, or overwhelmed? That is not your home. Just be still and watch, for the magic and the miracles are on their way. Out of nowhere, out of nowhere, nature delivers her magic. All you have to do is take your eyes off of her for a second, and you might miss the brilliance of the miracle of change. One day, I sat on a rock at the foot of a dormant pepper tree, and the next day, there were blooming buds, bringing a feeling and color of new life. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the bees began to arrive as if they received a signal to pollinate the tree directly from the blooming buds themselves. It is a small picture of the magic that exists in our lives every day, hidden in plain sight in the mystery of the unknown that comes from the world of your creator. This is happening in 1,000 places and in 1,000 moments in nature. By focusing up close, we can see the magic in that one pepper tree. And by pulling back and focusing on the big picture, we can see and feel the magic in nature everywhere. It appears to be happening behind the scenes, but in fact, it can be seen with your true eyes at any moment. It is the same for our human life. When it is time, something appears in your life and something gets the signal of its arrival so that the next thing you know, bees are arriving out of nowhere to pollinate it. This too is in plain sight and able to be seen from up close and from far away if you use your true eyes to see. As I sit and watch the tree, I know that it knows it is looked after, and therefore it has no concern if the blooming is an hour, day, or month late. It knows that the cycle of life exists and it wastes no energy in fear, worry, or doubt. This is the lesson that the human is still resisting. We feel as though we have a level of control because of our physical abilities and our mind. We don't think of the wisdom of the tree, that by surrendering its control, it has instead chosen to have a constant and direct communication with the source of all life. It, in fact, has taken the better path, void of an agenda of self promotion. It is always in the stillness of no thoughts, where it can feel the feeling of being taken care of and see and feel the magic that is in plain sight. The miracles are a natural result of the magic, and in the world of the pepper tree, they are as normal as the sunshine and the rainfall. There is no weight from concern or worry pushing the tree down, so it rises to its full glory, standing tall and regal. This is what is beginning to happen to each human being, and to see it happening is truly a gift. Out of nowhere, the buds are appearing, and soon the bees will arrive so that the flower that is you may be pollinated and bloom into the magnificent flower that is the most beautiful thing you will ever see. I am kindness. I do not stand out like that of a famous actor, athlete, or musician. My gift is hidden behind all outward abilities. I need no recognition or even thanks. I am the lifeblood of all life. I deliver a vibration to every universe and dimension which simply holds together the fabric of life. I am kindness. Even as you speak my name, you can begin to feel that I am the culmination of what you call love. For to feel me is to feel the grace, peace, and gratitude of a gentle, open hand towards all life. A selflessness and a generosity that transcend all beauty and surpass all that is not kindness. When you see the beauty of a sunset or sunrise, you see me. When you hear a magnificent piece of music that touches your heart, you hear me. And when you see the eyes of your creator in the face of a newborn child, you see me. I am kindness. It is in the simple act of saying hello or the simple gesture of a smile that exists the power that has created everything that has existed. You don't need money and you don't even need time to deliver me. You just need the awareness of seeing yourself in the other. Soon this will become second nature because it is truly your first nature. In me exists the essence of all that is divine. Freedom is rooted in me. Harmony is rooted in me. Balance is rooted in me. And compassion and empathy are rooted in me. It is because of me that the world has not been destroyed. It is because I exist in everyone and can be triggered and brought forward en masse after a major catastrophe that all has not been lost. But this time, it is the revealing of the new world that is triggering me in all humanity. For in the new world, you are separated from your feeling of lack and survival, and the only thing you are left with is me. Kindness delivered as your permanent nature, without the need to be triggered, and providing humanity with the feeling of security that they need to feel safe. I am the one quality that supersedes all others. I am the most important characteristic that you can own, and I am found without fail in those that are the true royalty of the universe. Desire me above all other traits, and you will sleep the sleep of peace, and you will walk this earth in need of nothing. For as your heart is set on kindness, so will I, kindness, be set on you. Welcome to the new world. I greet you with a kiss. I am kindness. I have to read one other thing. It always comes to me to read this, and today it came to me, or a few days ago actually. And this is the first chapter, which won't take long, of The Magic of Life. It was September 13th, and the wind felt cold and miserable as Suzanne struggled to hold her coat close to her body. The tears were still fresh on her face, and her body felt like it had been torn apart by the emotion of the past few days. Her toes were still numb from the long trek she had traveled the previous day, and the memory of the chill seemed to linger in her bones as the wind started to blow through her clothing once again. Suzanne's fixed purpose was to provide for her children, but her efforts of the previous day had proven to be fruitless. Her regular source of food was not available, and there was nothing to feed her family. Today, she headed off along the same trek, but this time she would visit all the local fishing spots to see if she could find some relief. Suzanne's fear was so intense that it almost took over her body, and she was struggling to take each step. Her decision yesterday to leave the children at home had torn her apart, and here she was doing it again. The children were too young to have to take care of themselves, but somehow she knew it had to be done. It was a significant time in their lives, as their father Joe had died the previous year, and as a family, they knew they were in for some hard times. Suzanne had battled along, and the children lived in fear of what would happen to them. Suzanne felt so alone, and each day seemed to get longer as the task became harder, and she struggled to survive against the increasing panic that ravaged her body. Suzanne had forgotten about all her friends and those who could help her, and was almost to the point where her brain and her body were ready to give up. The wind blew, and the dazzling rain began to play tricks with Suzanne's eyes. The clouds were low, and the mist of the morning hung like a mystic curtain, always out of reach and just in front of Suzanne's vision. No matter which way she turned, it was the same. Although her mind was ravaged with fear, there was a hidden sense that detected something different in the countryside. The strange cloud that appeared in front of her suddenly shook her into awareness and exploded her senses into a stream that was so intense its sound disappeared before it left her mouth. Suzanne froze, and the panic suddenly turned into a clarity that she had never felt before. Her sense of survival was at its maximum, and her focus and intensity were beyond belief. Suzanne scanned the path ahead, never taking her eyes off the strange vision in front of her. The rain seemed to stop just up ahead, but the cloud was slowly moving towards her. She could feel her skin start to tingle. It was like something had started that was completely out of her control, and in that place, and in the place of fear, a feeling of determination had come over her. She considered stepping back, but nothing seemed to happen. It was as if she was being drawn forward, and as she took that next step, she went into the cloud and almost passed out from the rush of adrenaline that followed. In that moment, Suzanne forgot the outside world and disappeared into the ecstasy and beauty of the wonderful world of magic she had stepped into. The hardship she had experienced moments before had gone, and she marveled at the joy of standing tall in the face of everything that was happening. Suzanne could feel her confidence growing as she calmed herself and allowed the haze of her experience to subside. She focused on the faint image in front of her and watched patiently as it formed into the shimmering outline of a person. She had never experienced anything like this before, but somehow she felt comfortable just standing motionless and letting everything unfold. The longer she stood and watched, the clearer the image became, until there, standing before her, was a great friend she had known through many ages. He introduced himself as Simeon. Suzanne felt elated. She had never experienced such a sensation, and she certainly had never seen anybody appear from a cloud before. Strangely, though, she felt incredibly comforted by the whole event. It was as if she had stepped into another world where all the circumstances around her were totally different. She felt beautiful once again, and her dry skin and matted hair was suddenly transformed. Her clothes looked better, and she really felt like she was starting to glow. Simeon's voice was gentle and welcoming. He understood that she had never experienced such a thing before, and he was extremely conscious of the fragile nature of her situation. You seem lost, my beautiful one, he began. Suzanne relaxed as he spoke. She felt drawn towards his energy and almost unconscious of the content of his words. Simeon continued, we have been watching you, and we understand your struggle. You have been through a lot, and now I would like to help you. Suzanne stood motionless. He turned slowly and continued, follow me, and we will get food for your children. I want to show you how to move on to a different life. The small island on which Suzanne lived was a place of beauty, with its harsh and rocky landscape and its wind-blown shores in contrast with the gentleness of the tree-lined hills in the distance. It was something beyond imagination. The life that Suzanne knew was simple but limited to this place where she was born. So when Simeon said, move to another life, she had no concept of what he was saying. There were no boats that could take her away from this island apart from the ship that came in once a month for supplies. It took one or two visitors backwards and forwards, and occasionally one of the technicians who ran the power station. And apart from that, there was no other way to move to another life. As her mind struggled with this lack of understanding, she felt a little disoriented and soon let go of her struggle to watch the vision of Simeon's magic develop in front of her. A vision appeared in front of her. She could see her children running around, enjoying themselves, laughing and playing, looking bright and healthy, with no trace of fear or hardship. Suzanne blinked and looked around, but she could only see the vision in front of her. She watched intently, and then, as quickly as it appeared, she disappeared. It disappeared. The picture had vanished, but it had been imprinted in Suzanne's heart as something more important than reality itself. Suzanne willingly followed Simeon, totally unconcerned about her well being and acknowledging that she felt unusually fit and happy. As she walked along, she felt a spring come back into her step and her fairy like nature return. They reached the waterfront where the fishermen normally gathered, but to her surprise, there was nobody around. They walked down to the small, deserted jetty and looked out to where the fishing boats were moored. Everything seemed peaceful and calm, and Simeon turned with a serious look on his face and waved his hand slowly over the jetty. The air seemed to shimmer like a mirage. Then suddenly, several baskets of fillets, and shellfish appeared before her. It was like a banquet laid out, ready to eat. Oh, if I could only carry all this and take it back to my children. Just as the thought appeared, the banquet lifted off the ground and slowly moved forward, disappearing into the surrounding mist that Suzanne had not noticed since she first stepped into it. She immediately turned to Simeon. What happened? Your wish has been granted. The fish will be taken back to your children, he said. There is too much for our family, replied Suzanne. Simeon smiled and quietly said, let's walk back to your house and feed the children. As they walked along the path, Simeon seemed to become real, and Suzanne felt that she needed to reach out and touch him. She could hardly believe the love that existed between them. Her senses became sharp and her whole body tingled with excitement. Simeon had been with her for 10 minutes, but it seemed like a lifetime. Simeon's love was something she could never explain, and all of the strange things that had happened around her seemed so natural. In the distance, Suzanne could see the little cottage coming into view around the edge of the cliff. Her feelings were high, and the sight of the cottage triggered her emotions. She turned around quickly, wrapped her arms around Simeon, and gave him a hug. She could not believe this feeling inside her. It was as if he had melted straight into her being, and they both stood there in the magical essence as one. As her focus returned, she pulled back, but was unable to speak. She wanted to say so much to express her thanks to him, but was unable to utter a word. Simeon smiled and said, "Yes, I'm real, and everything is okay. Now let's go feed the children." They walked into the house, and suddenly all of the fish appeared on the kitchen table. The children jumped with joy, and Suzanne could see the life coming back into their little bodies. The heavy atmosphere that had been in the house for months suddenly lifted, and laughter and happiness came back into the family. Suzanne quickly set about preparing and cooking a beautiful meal, and she thought of Joe and his continuous struggle to provide the abundance she was experiencing at the moment. He had always provided for his family, but he knew that their destiny had to change. When his boat capsized and he was lost to the darkness of the sea, Suzanne remembered very clearly the promise that he always made. "If ever I am taken by the sea, you and the family will be looked after. I have been told by God, and there is no doubt." And now, if he could look down on the water, on what was happening, he would be overjoyed by the vision. Suzanne had no idea why, but she had this wonderful feeling of complete trust and happiness, and a feeling that she was experiencing being looked after as Joe had promised. Once the children had eaten, Simeon suggested that they invite others in to eat. It was then that Suzanne realized she had been staying away from all her friends with her hardship. She had reached a point where she couldn't face anyone, and go out now to offer them food seemed so difficult. She was frightened, but Simeon simply looked at her and smiled, and the courage she needed came back to her immediately. Suzanne's life had become so distorted by fear and tragedy that she forgot how close her neighbors were. Only a few minutes down the road, and she could see her long lost friends. These were the people she had lived with all her life, but had pulled away from because of her circumstances. Suzanne put on her coat and headed off to see her friends. She stopped. She hoped that the food would stay warm, but quickly forgot as she met each of her friends. They were excited and happy for her, and were happy to follow her back to the house and enjoy a huge feast. Within the space of 4 hours, Suzanne's life was back to normal. Happiness was bubbling through her body, and the magic of the world was once again obvious to her. She looked around the crowd for Simeon. "Do I have to move?" she asked as she turned to face him. "You have moved, Suzanne. It all may look the same, but it doesn't feel the same. You have actually moved a long, long way from where there was hardship to where there is joy and happiness, and the world has allowed you to do that without any objection at all," answered Simeon. Suzanne wondered at the simplicity of what had happened and how it had been possible for the magic that had just played out in front of her. She wondered about the major difference in herself and her children and friends. It was all because of the intervention of one person in the provision of one meal. Everybody's life had changed in that very short period of time. Suzanne wondered if Simeon would be around all of her life. "How long are you staying?" she asked him. "I have always been with you and always will be. There will come a time when I will return to earth and you will know me again." But on this occasion, I am here for a short time to help you see the simplicity of what is needed to make your life full. Suzanne's face glowed, and the people around her were excited. They listened intently, but had no idea that Simeon had moved heaven and earth to come and stand before Suzanne so that she might know she could change and move on. Suzanne could not describe what Simeon had done, but the essence of her whole being clearly reflected the amazing results. Suzanne and her friends enjoyed a beautiful time together, but it was soon time to sleep. It wasn't long after everyone had gone home and the children were in bed that Suzanne fell into a peaceful dream-filled sleep. The dreams were clear and as exciting and almost as amazing as the day she had just left behind. She saw so many things and received so many instructions that it seemed like the night would never end. Not once did she wonder where Simeon had gone. He was there. When she went to sleep, he was there in her dreams. And she was sure that when she woke in the morning, he would be there again. Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of your Christmas Eve day, and Merry Christmas to you all. I wish you a perfect life, perfect health, and a magic future. Thank you.